Are you looking to grow revenues, increase profitability, or obtain financing? If so, you came to the right place.
Running a business is all about leadership. How do you become a better leader? Learn from the successful entrepreneurs and business owners how to lead your organization more effectively. That's why we created Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business, to help you succeed with your host, Andrew Frazier, Business Growth Pro and CFO and founder of the Small Business Pro University. Every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're joined by experienced entrepreneurs and business owners who share their secrets to success via live stream. Also, every Friday morning, we release a new podcast episode. Either way, you will learn about developing your business leadership skills from our roster of highly performing guest experts. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbprou.com.
Okay. All right. Okay, good evening. Welcome back to Leadership Live at 8:05. I'm your host, Andrew Frazier, and once again, it's great to hang out with you on Tuesday evening. As you know, there's so many things you need to know to be successful as an entrepreneur or business owner that's impossible to know them all. However, your business can only go as far as you're prepared to take it. So it's important to continually learn and develop both your knowledge and your leadership skills so that you can run a more successful business and achieve greater success faster and easier. That's why we created Leadership Live at 8:05. Each week we have a great guest and we really focus on the things that small businesses need and business owners and entrepreneurs need to know to be more successful. So thanks again for tuning in. Always love to have the guests and really looking forward to a great show. So tonight's topic is scaling gracefully, how to grow 200+% a year without breaking your business. That's very important. You can go out of business just as fast by growing too fast as not growing enough. So you have to prepare for both contingencies. One, make sure that you're selling enough to stay in business, but also, if you're selling too much, how to manage the growth. So we're going to talk about managing growth because, a lot of times people don't think about that until it's too late sometimes. So my guest this evening, Houlie Duque, spends time and helps people be able to do that. So very excited about having her on the show. I'm sure I'm going to learn some things and, hopefully you will too. Always appreciate you joining. Hey, what's up, Darren and everybody else there in the live stream land. And let me bring Houlie on tonight. Hey, Houlie, how are you doing this evening?
I'm so good. Thank you so much for having me today.
Excellent. Well, I'm excited about having you on the show and really having a great conversation with you that can be really beneficial for our audience.
Always love talking business.
Definitely. And talking small business.
Yes.
So before we get started, it would be great if you could share your journey, help people know how you got to where you are and some of the key milestones along the way.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if you already mentioned the name of my business. It's called HomeschoolToGo Genius Lab. So just from listening to the name, you can have an idea of what my business is all about. So it all started for me because I worked as a teacher for about almost 12 years. And when I was a teacher, it was very clear to me right from the get-go that I wasn't going to be able to fulfill that purpose that I felt in my heart in education from the perspective of a teacher. just because I felt this system was limiting into how I really wanted to be able to impact the lives of my students. So although I was a very committed teacher, I always knew it would be a sort of stepping stone before the next thing. And so I never took a full-time contract as a teacher. I only took supplemental positions, but they kept me busy, like pretty much like a full-time job. And at the same time, because I was a supply teacher, I was able to kind of be the owner of my own time and do my own thing. And so I was running marketing online businesses at the same time. And I think that gave me a pretty good idea of what it would look like if I ever went and did my own business. So I never really started to dive into the world of business until I I always knew that I wanted my own child, but to homeschool my own child from my experience in the system. But once I became a mother, I realized that I needed to find a homeschool program for him now and might as well start researching since I was already passionate about that. I never found anything that checked all the boxes for what I consider a high quality education. And that's where I realized it was time for me to create that program. And as I started doing that and I started to have conversations with so many other parents that were like-minded, I realized there was a gap in the market that I could fill with my idea. And so I started working towards that. That's how it all started.
All right. Excellent. So, engineering's all about, engineering is, but business is too, all about problem solving. And, I studied engineering, and sort of like many people, even if you liked what you studied in college, working in that field may not be something that you're excited about. So, because, it's different, the learning environment versus the work environment.
Yeah.
So, definitely can, understand how, you teaching wasn't quite what you thought it would be.
Yeah, I just felt like in the classrooms, the children weren't really being developed to their full potential. Like it was very like one size fits all type of thing where every single student learns differently. So for me, personalized education is about finding what are the thing that makes each one of them brilliant and helping them develop that. Because as we see in the economy is decentralizing, we're seeing so many more business owners coming in to play a role in the economy. And so what that means is that there's going to be less people in the future that are going to be employees and more people that are going to be business owners. And so there's a skill set for that. And it starts with identifying where you stand out. And so if you spend, 8 years of your life while you're in school doing a standardized program, you're not going to get an advantage in what it is that you're good at. On the other side, if everybody spends those 8 years understanding themselves and learning how to take those talents and turn them into something that can create value for the world, then once you're out of school, you have a very clear idea on how it is that you can put that purpose or turn that purpose into action and have a role in the society. And a lot of the times that is through business. I think that a lot of students, a lot of children these days have that opportunity because, like I said, the economy is decentralizing, and that is an option for a lot of people with AI coming into play and so many administrative roles being so easy to replace. It's time for a generation to start thinking like entrepreneurship is a path worthwhile for many of us.
Okay. Definitely more and more people are coming into entrepreneurship as business owners. And I think it's good. The bad part is so many of them are woefully unprepared for what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
And that's part of what our Small Business Pro University is, because business is different than what you think it is.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's a lot harder. And in the beginning you make less and work more. So
Yeah.
that's not what a lot of people were expecting.
Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that absolutely. And that I think that's the reason why it's very important that when you choose whatever it is you're going to build the business around, there's more than just making money as the purpose of it, right? Like, I don't know if you've ever known about this concept. Ikigai is a Japanese concept that says you need to find the common denominator between what your talent is, where you can create value and you feel your purpose can be fulfilled. So it's like it's a combination of like, maybe you're good at dancing, but dancing is not necessarily something that is going to make you money. But maybe you're also good at encouraging other people to move, and then that can make you money if you create a dance studio, for example. And then, you know what I mean? So it's like trying to find where your talent and the place where you can create value come together. And I think the third thing, if we need to translate that into actual business, is that you need to understand whether there's a gap in the market in the place where you live. Like if we're talking a small local business, for example, you have to do your research first to find out whether that solution that you're providing is an urgent problem for the people around you. Or in my case, like I live in Canada, but I serve people all around the United States, like mainly in Florida and Arizona and Arkansas, California, like far away from where I am. But I understand that these are the locations where the problem that I solve is most urgent and it's most accessible as well for many reasons. Like in my case, if I were to give you an example just to illustrate it, I provide personalized curriculums for parents who want to homeschool. So in Florida, in Arkansas, in Arizona, the government gives scholarships to parents that want to homeschool. So this is a group of people who, like the population in Arizona and Florida, there's a lot of Spanish speaking people there. And so for them, an English education is not enough. They need English and Spanish. And that happens to be one of my main competitive advantages, right? So you're talking about a gap in the market, right? Like for me, that project-based education, personalized education, English and Spanish, that's the gap in the market that I found. Where is that relevant? And that is relevant well, we do it all over the Americas, but it happens to be so that it's a great opportunity for me to sell in these states because they have the access to the funding as well. And so that's what you call in business the lowest hanging fruit. And I think for a new business owner, that's always where you want to start. You want to start with the lowest hanging fruit before you get thinking, I'm going to take over the world. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And you start changing your idea. You have to focus on the lowest hanging fruit. And that'll give you your first boost to be able to get yourself to the next level.
Definitely. And, that takes us all the way back to, if you're going in business, your business plan is essential. And most business owners don't have a business plan or don't have a completed business plan. And the first step in your business plan should be your market research. And that's where you figure out, a product market fit, or at least you try to come up with what you think is the right product market fit. It's going to evolve, but you want to start somewhere in the right area.
I agree. When I started my business, we didn't have AI like we do now. And so market research was excruciatingly more difficult than it is now. Like it's much easier to do market research on any idea with the tools that we have now. So there's no excuse for new entrepreneurs to skip that step for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Large companies had whole departments that did market research. Spent millions of dollars on it.
Yeah.
And so there was no way a small business owner could really do a really thorough job at it. But, now in a few hours, if you ask the right question and give the right input, you can, do, some really good market research and develop the draft marketing plan. So, definitely that's where you want to start, because that sort of allows you to um, move your business forward, because that's the hardest part, is finding the right.
Yeah, it is a hard part. I think that it also is kind of like running a business is kind of like having a child. Like it has to be a long-term commitment. And when you were earlier, like when you start a business, like it's not as easy as you think it's going to be. It isn't. So for that reason, owning, like running a business, is going to challenge you in all the ways that you need personal growth, because your business is going to reflect whatever your personal limitations are, and it's going to challenge those. Running a business is like looking at yourself in the mirror in the most profound way. It's going to expose all the things that you need to work on. So it's going to be hard one way or another. So you have to choose something for your business that has a market gap. Okay. So do your market research that you're passionate about, because you're going to have to commit to it for a long time. So if it's a solution that perhaps you're not so passionate about, a problem that didn't really affect you that much, or that doesn't really have the potential to make a significant impact in your life or in somebody else's life, you're more likely to give up. And you're likely to give up before anything comes into fruition. So I think that's also very important besides the market research.
Okay, great. So you mentioned the ikigai, or
Mhm.
something close to that.
Yeah, I think so. I don't speak Japanese either.
You know, Actually, my wife works for a Japanese bank. I should ask her. Uh,
Uh-huh.
but we did have a guest that actually talked about that
Oh,
a
cool.
couple of years ago. His name's Randall Pinkett,
Okay.
and so it's interesting that you brought that up as well. So we were talking about market research,
Mhm.
and business is really about solving a problem.
Mhm.
And I studied engineering, which was solving problems, but longer term problems. Like business is more real time problems.
Mhm.
Um,
I think there's a huge journey in within that problem solving situation. I
mhm.
find, they say a lot in the world of business that your ability to pivot and your ability to be flexible and to adapt is very important in having success as a business owner. But then you see those people that have a business idea and they're changing it all the time. And I was just talking to my mentor today. He was a venture capitalist. So we're not talking scale like small business here, but he's a person that kind of he's worked with multiple businesses that have been extremely successful. So he's able to look at my business and give me feedback on the challenges that I'm having. And um he was commending me for my ability to focus. And so that's the point that I wanted to make, is that to be able to choose what you need to focus on is it's a skill that we must work to acquire. So he was saying, those business owners that you see, they're changing their ideas all the time and too quickly to even try them out to see if they're going to fail or not. They're running away from failure. They're afraid of failing. So they're trying a million different things. You already know they're going to fail right from the get go. However, when you focus on this is the solution, like you did your market research, okay, in my case, people need homeschool programs because homeschool parents don't trust the system, but they're also overwhelmed because they never had to handle this on their own. They have jobs, so they need to have a practical lifestyle, but they also need to know how to go through this teaching that for generations we've outsourced, and all of a sudden we're not outsourcing anymore. So that's the problem. And we want to do it at a level of high quality, but I'm not an experienced teacher. How do I do that? Like, what are the hoops that I have to jump through? And so that's a problem that I knew I wanted to solve. I knew that was a problem because I had it. Then I did my market research. I learned that a lot of people had it. Then, based on that knowledge, I designed a solution. What I believed was high quality education from working with prestigious private schools for over a decade what I thought believed to be practical from being a mother and also having to work at the same time. So I start talking before you get any clients. Like, you have to talk to a lot of people in this world. You have to go, okay, this is my ideal. You have to define your ICP, your ideal customer persona. And then you have to find as many of those ICPs as you can possibly find, and you have to go talk to them without wanting to sell them anything, just wanting to learn from them. Just ask for a chat. Most people are okay with that. And just talk to as many people and learn from what their experience is. So that gives you your first group of assumptions. And with that, you can create version A of your solution. Then you can take that solution and you can go out there and sell it, and you'll have some success selling it. And then when you get those clients, you have to stay close to those clients and you have to learn from those clients. Every time a client leaves, super hard on the ego, but I think one of the best skills that I have learned, and I think one of the things that have been uh, um, important for my success, is that every single time I had a person leave, which didn't happen many times, but it did happen. And when it happened, it hurt me deeply. I reached out and I asked him, "Thank you so much for the time that you spent trusting us. I'm really curious to know what didn't work for you, what you're leaving, because I want to do better for the next person." And then they would tell me. So, for example, just give you a quick example that I'm thinking about. There's a mom that told me, "I became super busy, and your program is project-based education. And I love that idea, and I prefer that over screen-based, but I work so much. I literally need something that gives my child a screen so that I can have some time to work on my own things while she's there." And so for me, this would have never been a person that would be my ICP, but she was bilingual, English and Spanish. She was an entrepreneur who wanted something better for her child. She fell into a lot of the descriptions within my ICP. So I wrote it down: can do it now, will do it later. And then, fast forward 1 year from that, we are designing an AI tool because we're scaling, and I know we'll talk about the scaling part in a little bit. I said to the coders that were building my AI, I want to be able, we do a personalized intake, personalized education intake. So we ask the parents, how involved do you want to be? How much independent work do you want your child to do? How much of the work do you want to be involved in? Then we do multiple intelligence assessments. So we're building a curriculum that matters for them. Then we ask them, do you want it in English and Spanish? Do you want it just in English? Do you want it just in Spanish? We take all these insights. And because of that conversation that I had with that woman who left my program, I know, and I knew at that moment in the meeting with the coders, that I needed to have an option for people like her. And so we incorporated into the program videos to use as tutorials so that kids can also create through our platform independent work. And so, that's just an example that came into my head as I was speaking, but I think it's important to talk to your clients when you have them. And then when they're leaving, and then when they're not leaving, when they're staying, to ask them, why are you staying? What is the thing that you love most about what we offer? And it's never going to be what you think it is. Like, I don't know, at least not in my case. Like, I thought that my clients would love our curriculum. And then I did get a lot of, we love the curriculum, but I also got way more of, I love the attention that you provide. I love that of all the homeschool programs that you download, and then you have to figure out your program, that we have the curriculum and then we have a teacher that supports us and answers our questions. If anything is changing, if we want to change, like, you offer that attention. That's something that nobody else offers. Love that opportunity. And because of those conversations and those people saying that, that became a big part of what it is that we do. So now for every 50 students, we hire a new teacher, and each student is going to have a teacher that's going to help them. I think that is so important because of those conversations, I understand my competitive advantage. And now when I say teacher or parent support, you need parent support, we have a teacher that's going to support you on ongoing support all all the way from the moment you sign up to the moment you get your certification at the end of the year. And that's been a huge success determinator. And so having talks with your clients is very important, knowing them. Developing a relationship that's strong with them, I think, is important for small business owners.
Excellent, excellent. No, great example. I mean, definitely there's a lot to unpack there. Actually, we just dug into the conversation. I forgot to, usually in the beginning, I share a little bit about Small Business Pro University, because this live stream is one of our brain trust initiatives and one of the programs that we do for entrepreneurs and business owners, but we do a whole lot more. So I'm going to play a short video about Small Business Pro University, and then I'll be back talking with Houlie about scaling gracefully. Looking forward to it. Okay. Excellent. Many small businesses experience low or no revenue growth, and the owners are not making enough money. I founded Small Business Pro University to help you break that cycle by empowering you with greater knowledge and enhanced skills to lead your organization more effectively. Over the past 15 years, I've collaborated with organizations like the Small Business Development Center, Rising Tide Capital, Empower the Village, NJMEP, Rutgers University, and SCORE to work one-on-one with over 1,000 business owners and teach tens of thousands of people about business. My experience includes serving as a naval officer, managing businesses, graduating from MIT, earning an MBA from NYU, and achieving the CFA designation, which has prepared me to accomplish my mission of helping 1,000,008 business owners to sell more, maximize profit, and finance growth by 2028. My vision is to create the ultimate business ecosystem for entrepreneurs. Small Business Pro University empowers entrepreneurs like you to run their businesses more professionally and create sustainable enterprises. We employ my proven proprietary Masterpreneur Playbook framework to guide your journey along the Masterpreneur path and facilitate your Masterpreneur evolution to work on your business and scale faster and easier. Small Business Pro University provides access to valuable resources, partnerships, and relationships that will help you to sell more, maximize profit, and finance growth. Our Masterpreneur initiatives include the Small Business Pro Network, 100+ expert-led multimedia courses, intensive training workshops, Spanish language training, Leadership Live at 8:05 live stream and podcast, in-person Power Breakfast events, and advisory coaching, consulting, and training services. All right, welcome back. I'm here with Houlie Duque, and we're talking small business. Tonight's topic is scaling gracefully, how to grow 200+% without breaking your business. So they say every time you double, your revenues double, your business breaks. So it's great that we're covering this. And, you know, you've actually experienced this. And, you know, a lot of people are just trying to figure out how to grow 10%. But, you know, at the end of the day, your goal should be grow as significantly as possible. But, you know, the first part we talked about marketing, market analysis, target market. That's how you grow, when you basically find the right product market fit. Because then, you know, everything comes together and you can grow significantly as a small business. So we talked a little bit about that, and you started to talk a little bit about the you know, how you manage the growth. And you know, what type of things did you put in place in advance to prepare for growing that quickly?
Yeah. So I was very aware of the fact that I wanted to impact at a scalable level. So when I put in place my business, I didn't intend for it to be like a school system structure, because I had worked in the school system and I knew it's very hard to scale and to grow a business this way. You got one teacher and 30 students. So those students are not getting what they need. That teacher is exhausted. There's like so many things, like it's brick and mortar, right? So for me, it was very important that I was raising my child at the same time. So it's very important that I could run this business with enough flexibility that I could also attend to what he needed while I was homeschooling him. So I very much thought about putting everything in place to be able to intently grow without feeling like everything was going to break after. And so, at first, I think one tool that is extremely useful is having a budget projection or financial projections or whatever you want to call it. I'm told that financial projections is not the right name because it's like it's always changing. So my mentors have told me to call it budget targets. So it's a target rather than a projection. And so in your projections, you would have, like, I'll tell you the way that I understand it because I am no CFO. Okay, Andrew, like, maybe you can teach a lesson about that one, but I'll tell you how I do it. Like I said, wouldn't consider myself an expert in finance by any means, but this is a tool that, as an entrepreneur with no major experience in finance, has been incredible to me. So I have a variety of tabs. I'm going to describe the tabs that are easy for me to explain. So I have I have an assumptions tab. So the assumptions tab is perhaps like the prices, the cost of the things that are involved in me providing this service. So for example, the platform costs for the people that join in to be able to download our program, the other subscriptions, like for example, QuickBooks, or for the teachers to create the projects, they need to use Canva at the beginning, how much I pay a teacher to build curriculum, how much I pay myself, like all the assumptions. Then, like, for me, it's like I did take a few loans at the beginning, so I put the assumptions and I put the loan and the terms of how I'm paying that loan in the assumptions as well. So this explains to you how the rest of the sheet works. Then I have a sheet that is for revenue. So what are the products and the services that I sell? I have memberships that can be sold month to month, like can be paid month to month or year by year. So I have to understand, if I pay by year, I'm going to have that client for a long time. And so I need to know because that provides some security for me, I need to also provide some sort of benefit for them. So it's at a 25% discount. And then I have the month to month. And so if somebody pays month to month, it's a different financial landscape that if somebody is paying year by year. So I have different rows for each one of those different payments that come in, so that I can add those rows. And at the bottom of that column, I can have the entire addition of the revenue that I got in that month. Then I have another tab where I have the operational expenses. So here I'm going to put, things from the assumptions tab, like the people that I pay, my marketing assistant, the film studio, that everything is in there, so that at the bottom of the column I can see how much I spent then and how much I spend each year. And it goes month by month like this, column by column. And then I can see in my rev how much I made this month, how much I made this month. And when you look at that long term, you start to see patterns. Then I have another tab. This is the last one that I'm going to explain because I don't want to get into the thick of it, but the cash flow is very important. The cash flow, because it gives you an idea of, if I have this much money from the loan or whatever, and I'm making this much money, and I'm spending this, my burn rate, I'm spending this each month. It gives you an idea on how much you have in resources before you go in the red, and how much you have to spend on the people. Like, you get an idea on how you spend money, and you can see the patterns. When you spend more in marketing, your revenue grows. When you spend more in product, your retention grows, for example. Like, you'll start to see different patterns, and you'll start to be able to see, for example, for me, we have quarter one and quarter two less sales, and then we have quarter three and four more sales. So you have to understand your cycles, and you start to understand, when are you busier, when are you less busy. And that self-reflection, that ability to understand your cycles, what you have, what you can offer, allows you to plan better. So if I know that in the summer I sold, we enrolled 50 students last year, and we've been consistently at least growing double. And this year in quarter one and quarter two, I already grew 3 times what I grew last year. It's likely that we're going to perhaps maybe more than double, because of the marketing activities are compounding. So by the summer, I know that if I enroll 100 students or more, I'm going to need at least 2 teachers to serve those students. And so I have a pipeline with teachers that have said they're interested in learning, or from the teachers that I have that refer other teachers, or have other teacher friends from my network. And I have them there, and I tell them we probably be hiring in the summer. And when those students come in, I have someone that's already been in training for a month, and then that it's ready to serve them. However, when I first enroll students, I do serve the parents myself for the first 3 months, because I know that's when the parents are the most needy and the most like needing to learn, like it's their learning curve. So I always do that first part myself, and then I delegate it so I don't go crazy. But yeah, I think the projections is something that allows you to analyze your patterns and prepare for the growth that is coming.
Okay, excellent. Well, you know something? You're doing all the right things. I work with some companies as a fractional CFO, and I help people grow by focusing on their business strategy and financial management. And all those things that you said are really great tools and things to do. And it's really, if you're growing, and once you get to a certain size, you can't understand what's going on with your business unless you look at the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to transition to being able to run your business by the numbers.
Yeah.
But my first book, Running Your Small Business Like a Pro, and you're doing a lot of things we outlined there. The third chapter is called "What is Your Greatest Fear?" And the greatest fear of a lot of business owners is numbers and analysis. So, but if you don't get a handle on that, you're either not going to grow, or you're going to.
Wait, sorry, what did you say was the greatest fear of most business owners?
Numbers and analysis.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
you overcame that.
It's true. It's definitely like I said, numbers, like the financial part has never been my expertise, but I learned early on that is a requirement for me to be successful. So I know my numbers like the back of my hand in my business. Like, you can ask me at any point in the year, any day, how much I have in my bank account, and I can tell you the number pretty accurately. I think that's a very important thing to understand, so to make decisions on a day-to-day, whether you're going to make this investment or this one. Another really important thing for me is I am focused on growth. Like the 200% growth consistently every year has not been by luck or by accident. I reinvest. Like my business still haven't gotten any profit. Everything is being reinvested into revenue from the get-go, because I'm not particularly interested right now in making more money and making my paycheck bigger. I'm interested in impacting the most amount of people that I can help. And so I assume that at some point this business will be at certain level that I can perhaps retire or sell it to somebody, and then I can enjoy the fruits of my labor at that point. But right now, I am really happy with just, paying myself the amount that is necessary for me to be able to live, cover all my basic necessities, and then pour my soul and my passion into this, not based on the hours that I work, but based on the impact that I'm creating. For me, that's the most, and that's why I feel like, because I am working in something that I'm so deeply passionate about, it's that I've had that success because I'm not selfish with my business. You know what I mean? Like everything goes back in there to be reinvested. And so for me, very important to identify those revenue producing activities. And at first that was really hard. The first couple of years I tried many different marketing activities, but some work and some don't. You have to lose a lot of money in that exercise of finding out what's going to work and what's not. It's not like throwing spaghetti at the wall, but you do have to see what sticks. But you do have to run experiments, like sprints, calculated sprints, to figure out, okay, this channel works, and then we're going to focus on that channel. Okay, this channel doesn't work during this time of the year, but this one does. Focus on the channel. And then you learn more insights as you go forward. So you do have to get used to mistakes showing you the truth and then following that truth. And so I think that for me, because I've always been focused on growth, I've always been pretty prepared. Like I would say last year was the first year where I was like, holy moly, if I don't take seriously that I need to be able to scale, like if we go double again next year, I'm going to go crazy. I'm not being able to service all the students that come in. So I need to make sure I have a plan, because even if I employ all the teachers that I have right now full time, it won't be enough if we double again. And so I realized, how can I make the lives of my employees easier without taking away from the quality that I offer my clients? And so that's when I started to invest. Like this is the first time that I didn't reinvest my profit into marketing. I reinvest a big portion of it into product development. And so right now I'm really excited because we have spent the last 6 months training and building from scratch an AI agent that can produce the projects the way that we do. But it would take me about 2 hours to create one project, and this thing can create 3 options in 5 minutes. So now all the teachers can access all of their students through the platform. We're in testing period, but the thing is ready. Like we're just I would say it's performing at 90%. So we're just like fixing the bugs at this point. And so it's really exciting because as we're testing the bugs, I'm like, okay, let's create this project for the student. And I go in and it's like done. I have like the entire quarter done in less than 5 minutes. I'm like, this is amazing. So this is obviously something that I could have never imagined if I had to think about this 6 months in advance. And it's not even fully ready now, but it's going to be ready in the next month or so. And then summer's going to hit and we're going to double and we're going to be able to handle it.
Okay, excellent. So, you shared so many valuable insights in what you just talked about, which is key. And but one of the first things you said is you reinvest in your business.
Yeah.
And growth takes cash. Just because you're selling more doesn't mean you're making more. And a lot of times you have to invest the cash before you start making the more money. So a lot of business owners don't realize that. I actually had a client who had a manufacturing company and they were growing, and her finance person was like, she kept putting money in, and the finance person was like, oh, well, next month you won't have to do that. But as long as you grow, it's going to take cash. Until you slow down growing,
Yeah.
that's when it starts giving you more cash back, unless, depending on your business,
I think that that's not in, like it is accurate in most, in a small business. It should be accurate for the most part, but I do think that marketing gets cheaper as you understand your systems more accurately, because I was spending a lot more in marketing at the beginning than I am now.
right,
But well, no, I was spending more in marketing mistakes than I am now.
right, right,
So my budget increases because I'm still interested in growing, but I do get a lot more referrals now than I did back then, because you have more people. So more people have more circles. And so the word of mouth is also a thing that helps, and people resharing your stuff. Like that's something that I do believe it does compound and doesn't cost you as much later on.
right,
But I think there's always going to be something to be able to improve. I think that it's important to think, if you have big goals for scaling, I think it's important to not think in terms of like, oh, can I make more money next month? But just think, in 7 years, when I want to slow down, can this be a valuable piece of business that I can sell to somebody else? And that's really when you can take your cash back. And for me, I find like I still have months where I'm like having more expenses that I would want, and feeling like, okay, we have to figure out how to sell more to be able to cover this, because we want to do this and we want to do that. And then like the ambition drives the need to sell and the need to grow. And so and then I'm like, okay, time for a quarter review, because it's time for a quarter reviews and see everything. And it's felt like, on a financial level, for me, it's felt the same amount of pressure, you know, need to sell to be able to keep a head above water. Like it's felt that way every single month since I started.
hmm
And most people, for example, like they hate the financials and they're like, oh, I have to do a quarter review in my financials. I love it. Why? Because when I do that, I see things from perspective, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we sold 3 times what we sold quarter 1 last year. And that gives me relief. It's like, even though I'm hustling, even though things are not easy, we're growing. And that's a good sign, you know? So, like, the valuation of my business 4 years ago is very different. If I keep doing 200, 200, 200 for the next 10 years, like imagine that, right? So, yeah, I think it's important to think of the big picture, rather than can I just take some extra money for myself next month? That's like the short path, you know?
right. No, definitely, definitely. And like you said, every business is different, and
Mhm.
you may invest less in marketing, but a lot of businesses invoice their clients. So, whenever you do that, you're basically lending more and more money every month to your clients after you delivered something to them.
Yeah.
So, so, you know, so it's it's a balance, but, you
Yeah,
know,
I think it's important to think about your systems. Like, if you are the type of business that you invoice your clients, so you can do like that, you can provide the service or deliver the product at the end of your service. Like, I think that is something that, if you can, there's like, that creates another type of responsibility for you to have to figure out in your cash flow. And
yes,
so, but anything can be arranged in business. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it's a matter of understanding what are the systems that are causing challenge, and being able to be open-minded about how can I rearrange the system to mitigate the risk that I'm taking. I
yeah,
think that's important, because it's never just option A or B. There's option A, B, C, D, E, F, G. If you're willing to think about it, and if you're willing to talk to somebody about it.
yeah. No, definitely. I think, you know, but a big piece of it is planning and understanding your numbers.
Understanding it. Yeah. Like you can't fix anything if you don't understand what's hurting you or leaking.
Yeah. So, it's amazing. It's great that you're that in tune with your business because, as you grow, little mistakes become big mistakes. Unless you fix, or little problems become big problems unless you address them. And if you're not looking at the numbers, those things will sneak up on you.
Yes, they will. They definitely will. I think that there's been things in my business as well that I have been like, oh, I don't have to worry about that right now. And then eventually I do have to worry about them, and they're hard to deal with in that moment. But then I'm also like, I had a few of those things that happened this year, like things that I kind of didn't pay attention to. And I was like, that's a tomorrow problem type of situation. And I did have to deal with them this year. And I felt happy that it's happening now and not later, because later in my mind, in my desire, in my goal, later is going to be harder because I'm going to be bigger as a business. So I rather fix it now. And so that's when problems arise and I have to look at them and fix them. I'm thinking better now than later, always.
Right. Well, and also, you those problems are out there.
Yeah.
If you didn't look at your numbers, these things would be coming in from left field. And that's how, and you still addressed them faster than most people, even though because you saw it coming.
I think that you have to be able to understand, like be honest with yourself about what is working and what is not working. Your numbers will tell you in most cases what is working and what's not working. And I think that it, like you said, it's a snowball that is just gonna get bigger and bigger. So it's, if you have a business, like I had a friend who she opened a bathing suit business with recycled plastic. And like the first year they did really well. They sold so much. And then the next year they didn't sell as much. And then the next year they sold less. And then the next year they switched their business. And I remember her telling me when she was in the second year, like, oh yeah, like last year we made so much and this year we didn't. And I'm so stressed. Like we need to make more. But she never stopped to address, okay, why did I sell less? What did we do the first year that we didn't do this year? What, like, I never saw her asking those questions. And she never asked me. So I didn't, like, like if somebody doesn't ask me for advice, I'm not going to pretend that I am who knows, But yeah, she eventually her business closed. And that's because she wasn't willing, she was so afraid to look at what she was doing wrong. And the thing is, if you look at what you're doing wrong, you have an opportunity to become better.
Okay. So. Excellent. Well, we've covered a lot and we could probably talk about this for many more hours, but our audience definitely would hang out for many more hours. But, I mean, definitely, an hour is just not enough time to talk with you about this, but I think we did cover some valuable things.
Yep.
Before I let you go, I would like you to take a minute and think about 3 key takeaways for people. What are 3 key things people can take away from our conversation tonight and start implementing in their business tomorrow? I'm going to show a short video, and then after that, if you could share the 3 things, because also most people can't remember more than 3 things. So it's always good to really focus on that. So I'm going to play a video about since you talked about finances and numbers, about financial management, and then Houlie can come back and share the top 3. Every great business owner needs an expert financial management team. As your business grows, you're going to need more comprehensive financial expertise to help you with these activities. Financing growth, managing cash flow, maximizing profitability, strategic planning and budgeting, accurate, timely information for decision making, determining the appropriate staffing and inventory levels, and preparation for and analysis of potential opportunities. At this stage, you may not have the budget to hire multiple financial professionals from different firms. However, we can provide an outsourced team with over 100 years of experience in CFO, controller, accounting, tax, and bookkeeping to provide the expertise you need when needed. We will help you with your financial needs from A to Z. Whether you need bookkeeping, we will organize and enter your financial information. Accounting, we will provide accurate, timely financial reporting with analysis of key information and trends. Taxes, we will help you with tax preparation, reporting, and submission. Or CFO services, business strategy, financial projections, KPIs, or financing. We've got you covered from A to Z. Use the link below to schedule a complimentary discovery session. You have nothing to lose. Use the link below to explore how we can help. All right, welcome back. Leadership. I'm here with Houlie, and we're talking small business. Tonight's topic is scaling gracefully, how to grow 200+% per year without breaking your business. So, Houlie, we covered a lot of good stuff, but what are the 3 key things that people should take away from our discussion this evening?
Yes, definitely. Okay, so the first one is I want to redesign my own version of Ikigai when we were talking about it, where you got to find that common denominator between what you're passionate for and where you can offer value to the world. And I would say when you find that, do the market research on that solution that you're wanting to provide for the world that you're passionate about, and then start with the lowest hanging fruit. So passion, value, market research, lowest hanging fruit. That's takeaway number 1. Takeaway number 2, I would say, is envisioning your business like a huge introspective journey, is where you're going to have to be able to grow as a business owner. You have to also grow as a person. So you have to lose the fear of being able to look at where your flaws are, where you think that you're making mistakes. We tend to avoid that. Don't avoid it. Look at it, because that exercise holds the key to redesigning yourself or evolving into a better version of yourself. And same for your business. In order for your business to evolve to the better version of that business, you have to be willing to look at the things that you don't want to look at because you're afraid of seeing your own flaws. So that's takeaway number 2. And for takeaway number 3, I want to do a little plug and invite any entrepreneurs listening who have children who are thinking that perhaps they want to be able to participate in the upbringing of their children more, because their business allow them the flexibility to not have to sacrifice that connection and sacrifice that time with your child. You can go to this website that Andrew is sharing right here. I answer all of the questions that I have gotten from thousands of conversations with parents that are in this position. And I've also explained the next steps of what you need to do in order to do it. It's a lot easier than you think it is. And there's a lot of support out there, including me. I would be happy to support you. So if this was something that sparked your interest when I talked about homeschooling, make sure you click that link.
All right. Excellent. So, the top 3, so your own Ikigai and, passion, market research. So it incorporates a lot of things,
Yeah.
Which is key, because there's a lot of things that it takes to find your calling and find where that works as a business as well. So definitely that's key. I like that you shared it's an introspective journey.
Yeah.
You know, in my Masterpreneur playbook, you have to, your business goes through 5 steps, but you have to evolve through 5 levels. So
Yeah.
you have to become a different leader to successfully lead your business through each level. So, that takes a lot of introspection.
Yeah.
Uh, so, definitely that's key. Michael Gerber, author of The E-Myth, which is probably one of the best books ever on small business, always said that your business is a reflection of you. So if
Yes.
you're disorganized, your business is going to be disorganized.
Yes.
So you have to understand how to make yourself better so you can make your business better.
I think it's important the aspect of ego, because a lot of us identify or see ourselves through our job. So when we're entrepreneurs, we see ourselves through our business. Like if our business is doing bad, we're feeling insecure because we're not a good person, right? Or we're not, good enough or whatever. And I think it's important to be willing to look at what it is that you're not doing good, because that's going to give you the answer. Like the answer is right there in your ability to look at what you don't do right so you can have another opportunity to do it right. And you have to let go of your ego, and you have to accept that you're not perfect, and you have to have the willpower to work on that aspect.
Definitely. And the third one is education. We talked about your program. But, you know, the, the world is changing so fast
Yeah.
that education doesn't provide what people really need to thrive
Yeah.
in this environment. So it's great that you're doing what you do. Um, and that's part of the reason we have the Small Business Pro University, because things are changing, and traditional education changes slowly.
It
Uh,
changes very slowly, and it was actually designed to feed factory workers, compliant workers into factories.
right,
So that's not, in the age of AI, a factory job is no longer what we see as a promising future. So it's caused so many parents to want to take it into their own hands, and so yeah, that's also opened a new market for people like me who want to support those parents.
right, and now you have to have a lifetime learning. You're
Yeah,
not going to stay in a single job or a single career or field necessarily for a career like people used to be able to
yeah.
do. So whatever you do, wherever you are, um, you need to get training, and current training. So
Yeah,
it's usually
the thing
non-traditional.
is there's ways to teach skills that are transferable to life that are not necessarily technical. Like, you ever heard about project-based education? The way that we explain and pass down all the topics to our students is through the project-based methodology. So it's first there's a research. So whatever it is that you want to learn about, you start with the research phase. Then you go into execution. So there's the outcomes that you want to create, and you create them. Then you go into presentation. So that's sharing those outcomes with the people so that it can be used by others. And then it's reflection. So you can look back at everything that you did, analyze what you can do better, and then you can iterate to do it again better. And so that methodology right there translates into everything that you can possibly want to do. So if you're using that methodology to work on the skills that are your talents, your ikigai, by the time you're in 12th grade, you're already ahead of the majority of humanity.
Yes, definitely, because you know, memorization and
Yeah.
all just doesn't work in this
It
environment.
doesn't help so much when you have a phone that can tell you anything that you forget, you know. So I do think some skills are still necessary, but I think that the skills that are necessary to thrive are not being taught at all in the schools. So
Okay, great. Well, first off, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to join us tonight. Definitely shared some valuable insights. For the audience, you've got Houlie's information in the chat, so feel free to connect with her on LinkedIn. Feel free to go to the site that she shared, and you know, definitely, there's even more that you can learn from her. If anything you want to share before we close things out.
Yeah, that for parents that are entrepreneurs, or even just for entrepreneurs alone, a really good way to be able to maximize your time is learning to compartmentalize. And I talk more about that in the free masterclass that you share through the link. So if that sparked your interest, make sure you click that link.
Okay, excellent. So thanks again. If you can hang on, I'm just going to close things out, and we'll reconnect on the other side.
Okay.
Great. So, once again, I hope you enjoyed the show. Always appreciate everybody tuning in. Darren, Marcella, Jada, definitely that makes a difference, and I appreciate your comments. So, as you know, each week we have a great show, a different topic, a different guest. We've been doing this for 5 years, but we still find great guests every week and new topics. So even though we have over 250 episodes, so next week, hopefully you can join us. Next week, our topic is making bold business decisions when the future is uncertain. These are some of the most uncertain times that I've seen since I've been alive. So, how do you make decisions? How do you avoid analysis paralysis? And our guest is Adam Roach. And, hopefully you can join us or at least catch the replay. So at the end of the day, the more that you know, the faster and more successfully your business is going to grow.
Thank you for listening to Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpro.u.com.